Top 10 changes made to Wrath of the Lich King Classic.
What is up, guys? Stay safe here. So, going into Classic Wrath, Blizzard has sort of dropped the no changes philosophy that they pretty much maintained all through Classic and Classic TBC. They have now adopted a some changes philosophy, and they've actually made quite a few changes going into Wrath that deviate from the way that Wrath played out originally back in the day. So today we're going to go over a big list. I have the top 10 things that Blizzard has changed that will impact you on a day-to-day basis as you play through the next year and a half to 2 years of Classic Wrath that are pretty big changes from how things actually manifested 15 years ago. So let's go and jump right into this. The first really substantial change.
Oh my god, is he really gonna flex like this on us? Holy shit, look at this. This is just shameless. He's sitting there on the fucking white cock in his full Brutal Gladiator gear with Atiesh and Scarabord. Holy fuck, man. This is as bad as me. Oh my god.
Is that Blizzard is changing the way that raid lockouts work.
No, Ashbringer, though.
They're making it so you now have to choose between normal or heroic. This really only impacts TOC, normal 10-man TOC,
I think
heroic
that's
10-man TOC, normal 25 TOC, and heroic 25 TOC.
It's not even ICC.
So in actual Wrath back in the day, if you
ran
really
it 4
cared,
times.
you could do TOC effectively 4 times a week.
I did.
Twice on 10-man, twice on 25-man, normal, heroic for both options.
Big dick.
Now they're saying, okay, that's too much. You can only do TOC twice a week, and you have to choose between normal and heroic. So
Always do
I think
heroic.
a lot of people
are
happy about that. It has cut your TOC volume in half, and I think a lot of people maybe
and now it'll take 20 minutes instead of 50 minutes.
Didn't like TOC so much, so that's cool. Remember, Wrath is when Blizzard was sort of experimental with raid difficulty.
Yeah,
they went from just 10 and 25 man in Nexramus and Malygos and Sartharion into 10 and 25 man, but they had hard modes in Ulduar, and then they did.
We had hard modes. I mean, obviously we had hard modes with Sartharion. Besides Sartharion, we didn't really have any explicit hard modes. We had a handful of like pseudo hard modes, which was like killing Malygos in 6 minutes, where you had to do really well with like maintaining the sparks, etc. And yeah, the bug trio and AQ. I actually forgot all about that. I didn't think of that. Yeah, so we had hard modes at the beginning of Wrath 2. It's just that we changed them from being a activatable hard mode in Wrath, which was better, by the way, to a just toggle in TOC.
10 and 25 man heroic and normal, and then they settled on ICC where it's 10 and 25 heroic. So actually they're sort of applying the ICC difficulty options to TOC, which is a lot of people are happy about that. So that's really one big change that's really going to change the way you interact with TOC, which will be like phase 3 of Classic Wrath. They are also, and this is a pretty recent change they've announced, they have decided to squish the item level of both TOC and ICC gear a little bit down, because in the second half of Wrath, item levels get kind of inflated. Stuff gets kind of power spiky. The balance really changes because there's just so many stats on a lot of the gear. They're also slightly nerfing down the item level and the stat allocation of Season 7 and Arena Season 8 gear to be in accordance with...
Season 7 is Relentless. Season 8 is Wrathful. That was the 2 last seasons.
The new TOC and ICC gear.
That's not confirmed.
What this really means is that, how can I explain this? TOC normal gear is going to be slightly worse than Ulduar hard mode gear. So, and then of course, so I think everything's going to be bumped down in TOC.
If they do that, I will be happy. I still think that you should be able to get really badass ICC gear and do huge numbers. I think that's what people like to do. The truth is, like in Classic WoW, what was fun about Classic WoW? Getting all your world buffs and being able to just absolutely evaporate a boss. You're doing 3,000, 2,000 DPS at level 60. It's ridiculous. Bigger is better. Yep.
And ICC around,
I hope
like
they don't do that with
ICC. So what this means really is that
I would love if they nerfed TOC gear, at least normal mode gear, and they kept everything else the same.
Guilds get a lot more value and longevity and lifespan out of Ulduar hard mode gear. So
that's good.
A lot of people, if you look back at the way Classic Wrath came out, or manifested or was, you know, played out back in the day was that a lot of people had the sentiment that Ulduar didn't last long enough. For how great, for how amazing of a raid Ulduar is,
big true,
it wasn't really active that long, because the second first off, it was kind of a short patch, and then the second TOC came out, it's like, well, why would we do Ulduar? Because TOC normal gear is better than the hardest hard mode Ulduar gear. So, Ulduar, we don't need you anymore.
Exactly.
Outside of farming legendary
Val'anyr
fragments for Val'anyr.
And you also have to keep in mind that, like, Val'anyr originally was 239 item level. And 239 was the highest item level in in Ulduar and Wrath of the Lich King. And then because Val'anyr was no longer competitive and people were disappointed about having, like, oh, I have this legendary weapon and it just gets replaced with, like, normal mode gear, what the fuck. So Blizzard actually went back and they changed the item level of Val'anyr to 245, which was the equivalent item level of it was equivalent item level of 25-man normal mode TOC.
You care about that.
So they changed it twice.
Now when you go back and do Ulduar, even during TOC phase, it's going to be better than TOC normal gear. And also you're going to be getting Val'anyr fragments for your healers, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
So everyone like Ulduar is, in my opinion, probably the best raid ever made. So another reason to go back to Ulduar is cool. So there you go, if you care about that.
And,
the next thing is they are changing the way that emblems work in Classic Wrath. Right now in TBC, we have the Badge of Justice. In Wrath, there were originally, I think, 4 different emblems, one for each raid tier. There was an Exramus, Malygos.
Emblems of Heroism, Emblems of Valor, Emblems of Frost, Emblems of, I don't remember the other ones. I'd have to really try to think of. Triumph, yes, Triumph was TOC. Yeah, Tribbles of Conquest, I think, was Ulduar, if I remember right. Yes. It was a lot of emblems. I don't think this was a big deal. Like, Blizzard thought it was a problem. I never had a problem with it. It was just like, oh, you do these raids, you get this gear. You get these items. Okay, whatever. It didn't really seem like a big deal to me.
Sartharian emblem, there was an Ulduar emblem, there was a TOC emblem, and there was an ICC emblem, like Emblem of Frost. And so now, like, that got kind of confusing, the way that they had to keep... like you had different conversions. If you could turn this emblem into that emblem and so forth. It got kind of ridiculous at the end of Wrath. And so what they're doing this time is they are consolidating down to only 2 emblems ever throughout the entire duration of Wrath. They're going to be called Emblem of Valor, which are always going to be in the current raid tier.
Expansion. Yeah.
So when it's Nexramus, Malygos, Sartharian phase, God, that's a hard word to say. I don't know why. When it's Malygos, Sartharian, and Nexramus phase, Emblem of Valor will be dropping from those bosses.
Yeah.
And then when it's TOC phase, for instance, Emblem of Valor will be dropping from those bosses. And now...
So they're probably going to go and do something where Emblems of Valor probably turn into Emblems of Heroism, and either Emblems of Heroism just stick around or they get turned into gold. Yeah, that's fine.
In both Ulduar and Nexramus, you'll be getting Emblems of Heroism alongside getting Emblems of Heroism from Heroic dungeons. So pretty much, Emblem of Heroism is old raid and Heroics, and then Emblem of Valor is current raid.
Makes sense.
It's a much simpler system, and I can understand why they did it, because I remember playing at the end of Wrath, you had to convert emblems, and it was kind of annoying, right?
Maybe I'm in the minority. It was never a problem for me. You just figure out, like, oh, these guys, it drops this gear, you just go do this one. It was not a big deal.
I think generally the fewer currencies there are in-game, the better it is. It's just less confusing and stuff, so for a lot of people. So, okay, there you go. They are also, and this is probably the most controversial thing I think they have done today, they are not having RDF, which is Random Dungeon Finder. Probably a lot of you guys have heard about this.
We've seen this.
It seems like people are pretty 50-50 on this. People either really like Random Dungeon Finder, which was added in the final patch of Wrath. People seem to think that RDF was there for its entire duration.
I think that, like, what they should do is they should just add Random Dungeon Finder in TOC. Just add it in TOC and have it in on release for leveling dungeons under 60. Like, that's what I think that they should do. Because I do think that there's value to making your own groups on your own server for doing the content. I think that there is value for that. But by the time that TOC comes out, it's harder to find groups. It's more annoying. It's just a participation reward. They're so easy. I don't know. I think that's super easy. That's what they did originally in Wrath. So they should, I mean, what I'm really advocating for is for them to just do what they already did.
RDF was there for around the second half of Wrath back in the day, and it was added with the ICC patch, if I remember correctly. And this is what you can queue up for a dungeon, and it randomly places you with other people.
Remember.
And at some point, it became cross-server, and so they've decided we're not going to do that. Instead, we have an enhanced looking for group tool instead of RDF. Okay. And now this operates essentially the same as the LFG add-on that almost everyone that plays TBC uses. It's like the LFG add-on, but way better. And if anyone here plays Retail WoW, a lot of people use what is effectively the same tool. It's called the LFG tool in Retail WoW.
It's very useful.
People use it for forming Mythic Plus groups and for forming other like if you're going to go kill a bunch of rare monsters or farm open world resources. People use this tool a lot in Retail WoW is the point. And to great success also. So I have a
I think that people can complain about Random Dungeon Finder about how like, oh, well, it makes people not go out in the world, etc. I don't really think it matters as much now. I just don't think so. I feel like people don't give a shit as much as they used to, and all they want to do is just queue into a dungeon and play the dungeon. How do I know that? It's because Classic created that with having warlocks to pay for summons. TBC, people just flew over there. It didn't really matter that much. I think that gamers just in general have changed the way that they look at games. They're much more goal-oriented nowadays. And again, I think that releasing without it's probably a good idea, but I'm not completely out on the idea of not putting it in later on. I think that's probably a good idea. Once less people are running heroics and it's less common, adding the Random Dungeon Finder at that point, once people are much more geared as well, so it's easier to have smooth groups. I don't think it's a big deal. Yeah, it seems like the best solution. Once you go more efficient, you don't go back. Once games aren't efficient, people don't go back either. Look at the New World chart. Making things inefficient for the sake of inefficiency does not make the game better.
Feeling that they're going to have this LFG tool for the first couple phases of Wrath, and if people complain about it, between you and me, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of Wrath they actually do add RDF.
Yeah,
but
there it is.
For now, it's just going to be LFG tool, which is technically a new thing for Wrath, and it's actually quite a substantial thing. I have used it on the beta. I like it. I think there's room for improvement. They could make some positive changes to it, but as a base functionality, I think it works quite well. I think it's pretty effective at facilitating people making groups. It's fine enough, I think. Now, moving on, there are also, this is now like the PvP category, there are no more arena teams. One of the big complaints from PvPers, from arena players all through TBC is
arena teams were really annoying. And like for TBC, I felt like you had to have arena teams because that's what TBC was. You had arena teams in TBC. I feel like Wrath, just get rid of it. Just get rid of it and make the game better.
There are arena teams, which makes it sort of prohibitive. It makes it hard to play with your friends. Yeah. You'd have to leave an arena team to play with this other person. It was really annoying. And then after you're done queuing with them, you want to play with your other friend, and you have to leave that team, and then you play with your other friend. Yeah. And it was kind of clunky and tedious, I think, for a lot of arena players that really cared about that had a lot of friends that they wanted to play with each week. So now they're just getting rid of arena teams. There were arena teams back in Wrath. Now there are no arena teams, and now it's all personal rating, which is effectively how it works in Retail WoW. Yeah. And I think, I know Retail WoW bad, Classic WoW good, but I think a lot of PvPers prefer the Retail WoW way where it's personal.
I have heard basically no complaints about Retail WoW rating. Yeah, I've heard really no complaints about it. It seems good to me.
Rating, and then you can just play with whoever you want, and it really comes down to how you do and not necessarily how your team does, right? So I know that a lot of my arena friends are happy about this change because they like to kind of cross-pollinate and play with other people depending on what they're in the mood for that week, right? One week they might want to play some arena comp, and then the next week they might want to play a different arena comp. Okay, let the kids play, so be it, whatever. Yeah. A lot of people are happy about that. They are also maintaining arena titles and arena rating requirements, or the ability to get arena rating requirements from 2v2 gear, or from 2v2 arena. So if you have a 2v2 arena, a high arena rating in 2v2, you can get challenger, rival, duelist, gladiator title if you're good enough, and you can also use that arena 2v2 arena team rating to buy some of the upper echelon arena gear, which I believe that's how it was in the first 2 arena seasons of Wrath, and then they removed that for the final 2 arena seasons of Wrath. So this time, it's going to be there the entire time.
I don't remember.
It always was kind of weird that...
I think that, like, you were able to buy... Like, so the weapon was always locked for, like, high item level or high rating. So, like, for example, if you had a very high rating in Arena, you'd be able to buy, like, the elite version of the weapon.
Blizzard, halfway through Wrath, decided, 2v2, you're not a real arena bracket. Meanwhile, 5v5, you're good to go. Yeah, if anything, I would say 2v2 is probably more legitimate than 5v5. But anyway, everything is good. 2v2, 3v2.
I think you should just let everybody get Gladiator in every bracket without any restrictions. It doesn't really matter. Just let people do what they're going to do. Like, that's... Yeah, I mean, just let people play the game.
5v5.
It's just, like, back in the day, it was the same thing. Like, 2v2 gladiators would look down on 5v5 gladiators, and 3v3 gladiators would look down on 2v2 gladiators. It was like it was a totem pole. It was a food chain. This is always how it was. It's completely fine.
We're all good. You can do it all. You can get gladiator in all 3, or you can get challenger in all 3. You can get all your arena rating, all your arena gear. So that's fine. Good to go. They are also
5v5 R1
turning Wintergrasp into a cross-server battleground. And I believe they said there's going to be 120 people still per faction for a total.
They have to do this. Like, this is not a good thing, but they have to do this. Because you can't have servers that are 80-20, that are 99-1. You're not going to... Like, Wintergrasp is effectively removed. There's no game at that point. Tenacity, that's not how it worked, okay? Coming as somebody on Kel'Thuzad, if you played on Kel'Thuzad in Wrath, you know this. We had 18 of the vehicles, and there was the one horde respawn that they had left, and all 18 of the vehicles was unloading fucking cannon fire onto the small little immunity zone that the horde had, and the second that the horde would move out of that little circle, they would get death gripped 7 times, get disconnected out of the game because their character's moving so fast they start lagging out. Their character would immediately die even though they had 70 stacks of tenacity and over 100,000 health. This guy has more health than a Naxxramas boss, but he's getting evaporated because there's 10,000 people hitting him, and he's being CC'd to fucking hell. This is not going to matter. It's not a fun time. Now, it was funny to watch. It was really funny to watch and do that. But it's not what the game should be.
Total of 240 people in this colossal instanced battleground. And the reason why they're doing this, the way that servers are these days, where so many servers are like 99% Alliance,
they
or
have
99% Horde, and these servers are just super hyper one-sided faction dominant servers. Wintergrasp just would not work on these servers these days. There's probably only...
And that is the majority of servers.
One server in the world, and it's Grobulus. If you're from the Grob mob, post a comment in the chat below. Grobulus is probably the only, like, balanced PvP server in the world at this point, within a 45-55, ratio. So,
for now,
Wintergrasp just cannot really be implemented as it was into the modern service. So they're saying, you know what, we understand that. Wintergrasp is going to be a giant battleground, and there's some other nuanced things to it with the way it works out. But effectively, you queue for it. You can only queue for it once every couple hours. They're going to maintain that aspect. And now it's a BG. Oh, it's also going to be cross servers. So if I queue Wintergrasp on Peggle, maybe if you're on Benediction, you could be in my Wintergrasp also, is how it works.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. Also on the topic of PvP, back in the day when Wrath came out, they made it so if you toggle off your XP, which is also a new feature, if you want, you can go to an NPC in Orgrimmar Stormwind on a level 19 character of yours. You can flip off your XP, so nothing you do is going to give you XP anymore, even if you complete a quest or kill a mob.
Yeah,
you get no XP, and you do this intentionally. And the reason why people do this is because they want to twink. In Wrath, if you had flipped off your XP, you would be in a separate twink-only battleground queue system. And they're saying, yeah, you know what? We're not going to do that this time. So if you want to be a level 19 twink and then go own a bunch of level 15 players that have no gear, you can do that now. And honestly, this is cool. Like, that's what made twinking fun. The reason why twinking on a level 19 twink or 39...
The only reason that people did twinking is because they couldn't handle it at max level. I used to say back in Wrath, and like obviously as time went on, twinking became more popular among more people, but whenever you were twinking back in TBC and Wrath, I would always say I never met a gladiator that twinked. It was always shitty, hard-stuck 1,600 players that had to get fucking 17 different enchants and 5 different consumables so they could farm level 11 players. I have zero respect for twinking. I think it's cringe as fuck, and the people that used to do it back then were even more cringe than doing it itself was. It was pathetic. I think nowadays a lot of people do it because they just get bored. It's not really the same type of thing. But back then, only losers twinked.
Twink or whatever. The reason why that's cool is because you get to go around and one-shot people.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Why. And the thing is, like, everybody was like, oh, well, no, they like the gameplay. It's like, oh, really? Then why did it die whenever you couldn't queue into level 15 players and gray items? Sure.
So, yeah, I think it was when Wrath came out that twinking kind of died. Twinking kind of died when Wrath came out because, yeah, you could pause your XP, but also, like, what's the point now? Because you don't get to pwn idiots anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So now, if you're level 17 and you queue for a Warsong Gulch, you will get owned farmed by a level 19 sweaty guy. So that's the way it goes. I honestly think that's a good change too. That's good for twinks. I think twinking is cool. In fact, I bet that Classic Wrath will probably be the glory days of Classic twinking. I predict that there will be a pretty poppin' twink scene in Classic Wrath. It's actually something I look forward to doing at some point. Not immediately, but I think that'll be a lot of fun. In TBC and Vanilla, I noticed there wasn't much of a community. A little bit, but I think in Wrath it'll be much more popular in Wrath, considering you can lock your XP now. Beyond that, they've said that they're going to be adding race and faction changes at some point in Wrath. Not immediately.
Faction changes got added in Old War, I'm pretty sure, somewhere around there. If I could go back in time, I would say that you couldn't change your faction. I felt like allowing faction changes was like really bad for the game, but maybe it just would have happened the same way anyway. Like, I don't know. I always thought it was a bad decision, but it's like it's what they did with the game, so they kind of have to add it again. It makes sense. Why? Because for a long time, the racial bonuses that people had, leveling another character would take so long and it would be so much work that you didn't have metas shifting as quickly as they do where everybody's playing one faction, because people are already kind of anchored in their faction because they've leveled their character there. That's why. But also, like, making somebody commit to something that's unadvantageous is not super good either. So I can see why they added it.
Even original Wrath, you could do a race change at some point, but never a faction change. Faction change, I want to say, was Cataclysm. So they have confirmed they are going to do race and faction changes at some point during Classic Wrath. Not the first phase. I think they need some more time to work on it. But, it sounded like originally they were not going to do this, and then people sort of, complained about it. We want race changes. We want faction changes. And they're adding it by popular demand, pretty much. So there's that. And then the final thing that is changing with Classic Wrath is that this time around, as opposed to 15 years ago, now you can buy Power Gum. Okay? Yeah, which is the best gamer energy supplement in the entire world. And I actually have some in my pocket right there. Look at that! Buy this. Energy, caffeine.
So is this...
vitamin D.
So Power Gum is real. It is real. Okay, so it is a real thing. This is not like a meme or something like that. He owns it. I think that is fucking amazing. Like, not that, like, yeah, it's cool he did his own thing, but also that he named it after his classic WoW guild. It's like, if this ever takes off and is like an international thing, well, how'd you come up with the name? Well, okay, so basically, Let me tell you a little bit of something about a game called World of Warcraft. It's really like, yeah, Brandon Jizz, I thought that was fucking funny, man. It's a gum, not a drink. Everything's always a drink. I mean, if it's good, it's good. I mean, I think good for him trying to do his own thing. I'm impressed. Anytime somebody tries to go and do their own thing, I think it's great.
Vitamin B complex. If you're trying to go hard in Wrath,
yeah,
you need this, okay? Buy the gum. Buy the gum. Anyway, thank you guys for watching very, very much. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. I'm going to try to keep videos like this coming. I appreciate the support. Make sure to drop a comment. Make sure to drop an upvote. Let me know how you feel about these changes, because these are pretty substantial changes and they're pretty big deviations from how Wrath actually played out back in the day. So let me know. And with that being said, take care, boys.
There it is. That's great, man. I love it. Man. It's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be fucking fun. It said DM me, I'll hook you up. Alright, yeah, we'll see what happens, man. Yeah, we'll see. I actually, because of my teeth, I can't really eat gum. Or, not eat gum, chew gum. But maybe whenever I get everything fixed, maybe I'll have to do that. But yeah, there's the video right there. Top 10 changes made to Wrath of the Lich King Classic.